take over that department. And the city just made national headlines after we exposed officers punching and tasering a man who's deaf.
Tonight, we're back investigating a new case, and we're warning you right off the bat, parts of this story are hard to watch.
Yeah, this video shows officers on top of a man in the middle of the afternoon, in the middle of the summer, in the middle of a record-breaking heat wave.
That man has not been charged for this incident, but he spent more than a month in the hospital with third-degree burns. His attorneys say officers literally cooked him on the blacktop. We blurred the pictures of those burns here, but we're going to show you more of that a little later in this story. Our chief investigator, Dave Biskuping, interviewed that man and also got that surveillance video.
So far, though, we don't have the body camera footage and police reports. That's why Dave is still investigating, and he's here now with the latest.
So far, Phoenix PD has issued a statement saying the case is still under both a criminal and internal investigation. And there's also a pretty significant twist we just discovered that we'll need to break down at the end of this report. What day did this happen?
July 6th.
Okay.
This was like around 2 in the afternoon.
It was pretty hot that day, right? Like 115 or something?
I believe it was breaking record, yeah.
This is Michael Kenyon, and it was actually 114 on that day. And what happened left him with scars all over his body, up and down his arms, across his chest, on his legs, with chunks missing from his knees.
Just avoid the mirrors now. I don't even care to look.
It happened in a parking lot off 7th Street, just north of downtown. Surveillance video shows Michael on the phone walking to the store. That's when a police SUV pulled up behind him. He says the officers told him to come here, and he did.
I walked up to them and with my phone in the hand and said what happened or what's going on. I don't really remember what I said, but I came back. One officer grabbed my one wrist, and then the other officer grabbed my other wrist.
Before we go further, here's the backstory. Michael lives in a house close by, practically across the street. And according to Michael, his roommate had just reported a theft from their house. So there was a theft situation going on.
Right, and he just...
But it wasn't involving you, right?
No.
A court record search shows Michael has a handful of misdemeanor cases in Arizona. 3 dismissed, 1 guilty judgment for criminal damage, and on this day, he had an outstanding warrant for a failure to appear. But Michael claims he didn't know he had a warrant. And police confirmed these officers didn't know about it either.
In my mind, too, I feel like deep down, like because I think to myself, like, I had a bad past, I don't deserve a lot of good things in my life, so I'm like, maybe I did deserve this, you know?
That's the background. Now let's get back to what happened. Remember, we don't have body camera video, so we can't hear what's happening.
And then they told me, like, instantly in a like a mean, hostile voice, that they were saying, like, you're being detained, and I said, but I'm on the phone, what did I do? Like, I didn't do anything, please explain to me. And they're like, why are you getting antsy? Why are you seem like you're nervous? And I said, I'm not. I'm just, you scared me. Like you told me I'm being detained and I didn't do anything. Can you at least explain to me? I want to sit down. Let me sit down. Like, look, I'm not trying to run. And I sat down on the back of some random person's truck tail.
I saw that. Yeah. About 15 seconds later, Michael stands. The video shows them struggling for about 30 seconds. Then more officers run up and take him down.
They said, give me your arm, stop resisting. And I think that's when like 5 people were on me. And I'm just screaming for help. And I'm scared. I'm thinking like this is like the moment when, George Floyd was literally like...
He told us he thought of George Floyd because they were kneeling on his back and neck, in addition to the pavement burning his body.
This is it. This is all. This is me. I guess this is where I'm going to stay at. And
this is the end, you mean?
Yeah, this is the end.
Michael spent more than 4 minutes on the blacktop before getting handcuffed, then picked up and dragged to the police car. He said his skin was already bubbling and peeling away. Can you describe the pain? Like, how bad was it?
Like going through hell in Hades, I guess you'd say. It's like, feels like your skin's melting off. The lady across the high-rise said that she thought an animal was dying, so that's why she looked out her window.
Firefighters arrived about 5 minutes after Michael was lifted from the ground. 7 minutes later, he was carted away and taken to the hospital.
The Phoenix police are demonstrating an utter disregard for human life. Sitting next to me is a young man whose skin has been burned to the 3rd degree because it was cooked on asphalt.
You feel like they cooked him on the asphalt?
Oh, they did. There's no doubt.
That's Bobby DiCello, one of Michael's lawyers. They're planning a lawsuit. They gave us the surveillance and cell phone video, but they say they have not been able to get the police reports either.
He had committed no crime and has never been charged with a crime, and he's spent over a month in a burn unit with police peeping through the windows to see what he was doing.
If true, that means Phoenix officers knew his condition was bad. And Michael says officers were there for days and often kept him handcuffed. Like, what do you mean they were there?
They were just outside the room. They had like this little like clicker thing that's like a blind inside the window, and they just wouldn't let me use my phone, contact my family, and it took certain cops to break the rules to let me use my phone.
He says police left after a friend called lawyers and they showed up at the hospital. Now, Michael was hospitalized for more than a month, first in a special burn unit, then in a rehab facility. He says the beginning was the worst, especially getting his dressings changed.
Just screaming at the top of my lungs, like wishing it was over, you know what I mean? I wouldn't wish it over.
Take a second. And you say you wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Did you deserve what happened to you?
I don't think so, and sometimes I beat myself up thinking like, what could I have done to deserve this? And I still cry sometimes thinking that like I didn't do anything.
Do you think anybody deserved what happened to you? Again, Phoenix says this case is still under criminal and internal investigation. And while the city didn't directly respond to our specific questions about why officers were stationed at the hospital, their statement did say Michael was taken to the hospital and officers learned he had a felony warrant out for his arrest. Now to that twist we mentioned earlier. We just learned that hours after we reached out for comment on this case, officials went to court and filed criminal charges against Michael Kenyon. Now, not for the burn case, not for the warrant, but for a different case. Now, we just pulled the new court file. It shows 3 charges related to a domestic violence case between Michael and his brother. Here's the timeline. That alleged DV case happened on March 12th. The burn incident happened in July. We reached out for comment on that burn case October 28th at 6 a.m. The new charges were filed 9 hours later at 3:17 p.m. Michael's attorneys just released the following statement. Quote, "We are still investigating this allegation. The timing of the charges is certainly suspicious, particularly given Phoenix PD's history, but we're reserving judgment until we complete our own investigation." His attorneys also represent the group of protesters who were targeted, arrested, and falsely charged as gang members. So those attorneys have a notable history with the city. We'll stay on top of all of this. For now, I'm investigator Dave Biskobing, ABC 15, Arizona.
In response to the timing of those new charges, the Maricopa County Attorney's Office denied any conversation between their office and the Phoenix Police Department yesterday. No spokesperson says a prosecutor received the case October 2nd.
Before we dive in, let's set the scene. Phoenix Police Department is under intense national scrutiny. The Department of Justice has flagged the city's police for potential federal takeover. Officers here have already made headlines for shocking acts of excessive force, and now a new case is raising even more questions. Tonight we look at Michael Kenyon, a white American who spent over a month in a burn unit with third-degree burns, injuries his attorneys say were caused while he was pinned to blistering asphalt by police officers. What most of the mainstream media won't tell you is this: the timing of the charges against him, coming after he survived those burns, is suspicious. The broader question is bigger than one man's suffering. This case exposes cracks in the system, patterns of unchecked power, and how easily someone can be targeted even after enduring extreme harm. Here's what happened. On July 6th, around 2 p.m., temperatures in Phoenix soared past 110 degrees, turning the streets into a dangerous furnace. Michael Kenyon was simply walking to a store, phone in hand, when a police SUV pulled up behind him, and officers immediately grabbed him. Surveillance shows a struggle lasting about 30 seconds before additional officers rushed in. Michael was pinned face down on the scorching asphalt for over 4 minutes, his skin blistering and peeling under the relentless desert heat, screaming in unimaginable pain. Firefighters finally arrived minutes later to intervene, and Michael was rushed to a burn unit where he would remain hospitalized for over a month, his injuries so severe that officers reportedly stayed outside his hospital room, watching through the windows as he fought to survive. The sheer brutality of this moment is almost impossible to imagine, yet it happened in broad daylight, exposing a shocking disregard for human life. Here's the twist most media outlets won't highlight. After Michael Canyon's long and grueling hospital stay, he was suddenly charged, not for the burn incident that left him in agonizing pain, not for his outstanding warrant, but for a prior domestic dispute that had occurred months earlier. The timing is striking and suspicious, coming only after he survived severe injuries in police custody, raising serious questions about whether the system is shielding officers while strategically targeting him afterward. His attorneys have emphasized that this could be retaliatory or opportunistic, a clear example of procedural manipulation that rarely makes headlines, a pattern that leaves ordinary citizens vulnerable and exposes the cracks in accountability that most media reports fail to examine. This is not an isolated problem. While Michael Canyon is white, his case exposes a deeper reality about abuse of power and systemic failures that put all Americans at risk. Citizens can be restrained, injured, and traumatized while officers evade accountability, and the consequences of these failures ripple far beyond a single incident. Historically, similar brutality has disproportionately affected Black Americans, but this case proves that structural weaknesses, lack of oversight, and unchecked authority can endanger anyone, showing that the problem is systemic, not isolated, and the system designed to protect can just as easily harm. Key takeaways. Transparency is absolutely critical. Missing body cam footage and delayed police reports make it nearly impossible to hold anyone accountable and allow injustice to continue unchecked. Extreme conditions make situations far worse. Being pinned to asphalt in 114-degree heat is not just negligence, it is a deliberate risk that amplifies harm and suffering. The timing of charges also matters deeply. Filing unrelated charges after someone survives life-threatening injuries raises serious red flags about systemic bias, retaliation, and the manipulation of legal processes. This case is a powerful warning. Anyone can be vulnerable when the system fails, and no one is immune, regardless of race, status, or background. It is a call to demand accountability and pay attention when power goes unchecked. What can we do? Share this story widely to raise awareness and make sure people know what really happened. Demand independent investigations into police misconduct to hold those in power accountable, and support organizations fighting for civil rights and justice to strengthen oversight and protect citizens. Michael Canyon's story is a wake-up call. Abuse of power affects everyone, and staying silent makes us complicit. Subscribe to the Untold Crime Chronicle for more stories that uncover the hidden truths. Much love to all lovers of truth and advocates for justice. And remember, paying attention and taking action is how we change the system.